Today's video is talking about care fees and how they relate to property and property issues. This area can get quite complex, quite grey legally. It really depends on where you live in the country and who you're dealing with at the local authority. I would strongly recommend that you take specialist legal advice with regard to property and care fees. Let me know your own experience, in the comments below. Let me know what kind of experience you've had with regard to property and dealing with a local authority. I'd be really interested to know. So the first thing I want to talk about is property disregards. By that I mean that where property is disregarded from your assessment as to whether you can pay for your own care fees or not. The main ones are mandatory disregards, where perhaps you've moved into a care home and the spouse is still living at home. So quite rightly, your spouse is still allowed to live in the family home, and the house would be disregarded for care fees assessment purposes. The other one is similar really, where you've got a family member who's over 60 who's living in the family home. Again, they're on a similar basis, they're allowed to continue to live in the family home, and the house would be disregarded for care fee assessment. You do have to provide evidence that you're still living in the home, council tax, right to vote, where you're registered for a GP, where your belongings are, that kind of thing. The second one really is discretionary property disregards, and now in this day and age, the economic climate, budgets being squeezed, it's becoming, extremely difficult to get discretionary property disregards. These are basically disregards that are outside the main two mandatory disregards that I've just mentioned. So again, I would strongly recommend, if you're looking to apply for a discretionary disregard, that you take legal advice, property specialist advice on that. Again, if you do have any experiences, let me know in the comments below. That'd be really interesting to hear. Really, in terms of discretionary property disregards, it's timing is everything. So if you're perhaps a family member over 60 and you've moved into the family house after the person's moved into a care home, obviously the local authority are going to want to know why you've done that. Another common one is if you are an adult child who's always lived at home and never left home. The local authority are even going to look into your financial circumstances as why you've never left home, why haven't you ever bought your own house, that kind of thing. So obviously there's hundreds, if not thousands, of different potential scenarios with regard to living arrangements in the family home and that kind of thing. So definitely take specialist legal advice. If you're in that kind of situation, leave a comment below to ask questions, and I'll hopefully answer as best I can. Quick word on the 12-week property disregard. So basically the 12-week property disregard is if you've moved into a care home and you've basically got 12 weeks where the property won't be assessed for care cost purposes. So just gives you breathing space, see whether your stay in the care home is going to be permanent or not. It's only available when you first go into the care home. And you have to have less than 23,250 in assets to qualify for the 12-week property disregard. So a lot more restrictive than it used to be honest. Deferred payment agreements. So this is basically where the local authority will apply a loan on the house to enable you to pay for care fees through that loan without having to sell the home. It's only available if you've got less than 23,250 in assets again, and you have to have moved into a care home. But it can be quite useful if the family need time to decide what to do with the family house, whether they don't want, there may be delays on getting a deputyship order, that kind of stuff. So can be quite useful in the short term. Some families explore whether renting out the house can kind of contribute towards care fees, but I have to say that 99 times out of 100, once we've explored all these different options, it really the most appropriate option is to sell the family home, to be honest. I mean, even if even on a deferred payment agreement, you still have to sell the home after the person's died, passed away. So it tends to be the best option to sell the home, but I'm quite happy to kind of explore different options with yourself. In terms of renting, you have to pay all the maintenance charges, you have to spend money to get the house lettable, comply with landlord's legislation, the tax consequences, the management costs, that kind of thing. And by the time you've accounted for all of these different things, it's quite unlikely that the rental income is going to be enough to pay for care costs. So usually, as I say, 99 times out of 100, selling the homes is the best strategy, and that does give you a lot more options in terms of paying for care costs tax efficiently. Inheritance tax options become available. Solutions that can cap the cost of care, that can be best for not only the person moving to a care, but also for potential legacy and inheritances for the wider family. It certainly gives you a lot more options, and I'd strongly recommend that if you are selling the family home, it would be good to kind of explore that with us, all these different options, because as I said, some of these decisions are probably the biggest decisions, financial decisions that the family will have to make. So that's a quick whistle-stop tour of some of the property issues. Strongly recommend that you take legal advice if you're kind of looking at these kind of things. But yeah, thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.